Hello everyone! Today I want to give you my opinion on the new upcoming character Arataki Itto, who will be available during the second half of patch 2.3. As always, if you like his aesthetics or anything and you want him for that reason, go ahead, but here I will only focus on his performance in combat. Since he is a new character, I will just have the livestream in the background and go over his skills for those of you who aren't familiar with that yet. And also talk a little about his gameplay. In the second half, I will then cover his possible team compositions and equipment options. With that being said, let's get started. First, let's talk about his normal attacks, because this character actually has some gameplay tied to them. He gets a stack of superlative super strength on every second and fourth attack, and his combo won't reset for a short period of time after dashing or his elemental skill, which fits his gameplay mechanic, but sometimes you use attack cancels intentional to reset the normal attack chain if later attacks have lower damage or long animations. So we have to kind of wait and see how or if that affects him. And now you have the option to consume super strength stacks for special charged attacks that cost no stamina. Each charged attack will consume one stack, and the last stack that you will consume will perform an extra strong attack. So my assumption is normal attacks are just for building stacks, and the charged attacks will be the big numbers. So it's another charged attacking character, which means there's no easy budget option with just slapping on a gladiator set. And his passive skills are: his special charge attacks get increased attack speed with each consecutive slash, resistance to interruption, and damage scaling of his defense. It's pretty straightforward, nice synergy with his kit. And now his elemental skill. It summons a little pet that taunts and grants stacks of super strength upon attacking, taking damage, and leaving the field. They didn't mention anything about its damage scaling of defense, so nothing too impressive. Again, nice synergy with his stack mechanic. It's pretty much only there for that, and the taunt. Pretty basic, but nice. And now let's move into the big thing, his elemental burst skill. It infuses normal attacks with Geo. His first and third attack generate a stack of super strength, and he gets reduced resistance for increased attack speed and a bonus to attack based on defense. So it's basically your standard berserker skill that pretty much any RPG has. You sacrifice defense for offense. So you get geo damage and defense scaling on the skill, which leads you to build these two stats, which means he will likely only be used when his elemental burst skill is up, very similar to characters like Raiden Shogun, Child, or Hu Tao. So you will build a quick swap team around these kind of characters who only have a small damage window, and then use the rest of your team to cover up the downtime with their elemental skills and elemental burst skills. By the time you switch back to Itto, hopefully the cooldown of his elemental burst skill lines up and you can just repeat the whole thing. So this character very much feels like a C6 Noel to me, the Geo infusion on his elemental burst skill with the defense scaling. But don't worry, he has 5-star stats, his gameplay mechanic is way more complex, which makes him more exciting to play, and I hope his energy management is better than Noel's. I personally really like this fast-paced playstyle. Raiden quickly became one of my favorite characters, which makes me look forward to Itto a lot. And with that being said, let's get into team compositions. So you could probably just build a standard comp with a main DPS, healer, and 2 supports and use Itto as kind of a burst damage support, but I think the most efficient and I'd say the most fun way of using him is probably in a quick swap team. And for that you want Itto, then 2 supports, and obviously a healer. Pretty much any healer works, but most people prefer Bennett in general, and especially in quick swap teams where you set up for a small window of burst damage, his attack buff is very valuable. And now we have Itto in the first spot, Bennett in the second spot, and we are missing 2 support characters. Since Itto exclusively deals Geo damage, it's pretty much mandatory to pick a Geo character as your first support, because Geo resonance is just that powerful. Most people prefer Zhongli for obvious reasons. Other than that, you have the option to pick Goro. Obviously, if you stack up on Geo characters, he gets extra benefits. Albedo is just passive damage, which is super easy to use. I quite like the idea of using Ningguang because the elemental skill into elemental burst skill into elemental skill, if you have C2, just deals a lot of burst damage, and you get the Geo screen, and when you walk through it with Itto, you get a little bit of Geo damage bonus. You also have the option of picking the Geo Traveler. You get a little bit of crit chance when you activate the Elemental Burst skill, I believe, which can help, and you could replace Bennett with Noelle as your healer to activate Geo Resonance. And for your second support, you could obviously just pick another Geo character, which is not a bad idea at all because elemental reactions with Geo kind of suck. So picking a sub DPS like Jingshou loses a lot of value. And in this setup you obviously generate a lot of Geo particles, which means you pretty much don't have to worry about charging your elemental burst skills at all. And then you have some options for just general utility, for example, Kazuha to group up enemies and elemental damage bonus, Venti to group up enemies. I actually quite like Raiden Shogun because her elemental skill increases the elemental burst skill of your party, which might be good with Itto, but it's especially good with characters with hard-hitting elemental burst skills like Zhongli and Ningguang. And obviously her elemental burst skill is obviously quite good as well because it recharges the energy of your team and it bridges a lot of the downtime of Itto's elemental burst skill. Then you have Sarah for an extra attack buff, Mona to get another damage multiplier from her elemental burst skill, and you get a crit rate buff from Rosaria, but this is one of the few cases where I would say if you want extra crit rate, the Geo Traveler is just better because stacking Geo characters in this team is just better. And to cover equipment options really quick, obviously if you have a 5-star weapon or the Battle Pass weapon or anything, it's great, but if you're looking for an easy accessible weapon, I recommend to craft the White Blind, which should be a really good option. For artifact sets, as I said earlier, you don't have an easy budget option like the Gladiator set because you charge attacks a lot, so your best option right now is probably the Retracing Bowlight, but once 2.3 releases, I assume the by far best set for him will be this new Husk of Opulent Dreams artifact set. So, is Itto worth your wishes? As always, you need to like his gameplay, and it's nice if you already have and like characters that work well with him in a team. Aside from that, I personally think his fast-paced gameplay looks really interesting. They released an artifact set that is pretty much tailor-made for him, and you still have a budget weapon choice which is quite good. We obviously don't know his constellations yet, but his skill kit seems quite complete at C0. So I strongly tend to wishing for him, but it's a damage character, so I advise you to wait a day or two to see how his damage multipliers will be. And with that being said, we made it to the end. Thank you very much for watching, stay tuned for more videos in the future. Until then, have fun and David, and bye bye.